within 3 minutes, but I'm going to give it a shot. Look, the first thing we need to do, and this is universally accepted, is put sunset provisions for all federal agencies. Give them an opportunity one by one to come to Congress and show what they've done in the last 7 years or whatever with their money, what they have proposed, and we can start winnowing these things out and be transparent. That causes reducing expenses. Then with regard to taxes, look, Governor Gary Johnson believes in a consumption tax, and until about half an hour ago, I felt, there's such problems, administrative problems with those. I believe in a flat tax, and still do in many ways. And I was talking to Ted Metz over here. He had a great idea with regard to how we could implement a consumption tax, and we'll reconsider that as well. Get rid of the IRS. When you have taxes on your products, you are going to have competitive disadvantages with your exports. You're going to have competitive disadvantages with your domestic things as well. If you have a consumption tax, that will level the playing field, bringing millions and millions of jobs back to our country, because we will be able to compete on a level playing field. With regard to Social Security, privatize it, for heaven's sake. Had I been able to put in money into my private account when I turned 18 or started working, I would be a multimillionaire today. So allow that to happen, except for those people that are older. It's a contract. I'm a libertarian. I believe in contracts. The government, rightly or wrongly, has made contracts with people. So if you're over, 40 years, 45 years old, you will get everything that the government has promised you with regard to Social Security. The other people will be privatized and will put it into their accounts. So now you're going to have an overage. How are you going to pay for that? Look, the Bureau of Land Management owns huge amounts of property west of the Mississippi mostly. Put those divide them into 10 groups of 10, auction those off once every 10 years, get rid of the government ownership, put that into a pension fund that will fund Social Security, and kill really two important birds with one very good stone.
Oh yes, taxes. Nobody likes that word. I don't. And I've already suggested the flat tax rate. The flat tax rate. I honestly believe that's going to work. I've been a machinist all my life, worked with numbers all my life. I don't hesitate, not 1 second. Flat tax rate, okay? A business contract with businesses, let's get them back in the country. But I'll tell you this, the establishments, they create this crisis. And now they're out here campaigning going, we're going to fix everything. I got one fix for everybody. Every single person in this entire country. No more experienced politicians. No more. No more experienced politicians. All the experts and all that, and they run this country $20 trillion in debt, no more. Okay, we can elect all hard-working Americans in there right now. I tell you what, within a few years, I would imagine everything would be fixed. Anybody even thought of that? I mean, these guys are just sitting here making career politicians, and we have to stop this. There's lobbyists and interests that want this crisis, and they want to fix it, and then they want to create another crisis, and they want to fix it. Okay? If the American people would just wake up and say, look, I'm not going to be a Republican anymore, or a Democrat, or a Libertarian, I'm going to be an American. We're going to elect hard-working Americans that live every day, check by check. You know how they would act when they get into Congress? They would be fixing things so fast. The producers, they just want to fix things so they can go back to their private life and enjoy life, okay? Without paying outrageous corporate taxes, the highest in the world. So we can solve this as quick as snapping a finger. It's a simple logic, common sense that's missing in our government. And we deal with this every single day. And it doesn't seem like every American just needs to come together and we can fix it all. Thank you. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
As far as our seniors, I think if we've made a contract, that contract should be honored, but the people can determine where to go from there. I don't think anybody should have to put any money into any program that they don't want to put any money into. And that includes taxes for any of these, anything at all. I don't like the IRS. The IRS is out of control, And I definitely don't like that healthcare goes through the IRS and that you have to answer to them for every month that you've been insured. That's one thing I don't like. As far as how we would deal with the taxes, I definitely wouldn't raise them, and I would cut programs that are not statistically showing any positive achievements at all. The ones that I love is I love our military. I will support them, and I will help them. I don't like our Homeland Security. I don't think that we need white vans following American citizens all over this country. I think as the states and the communities are, that we elect our sheriffs. We elect individuals who are going to reinforce our laws. But definitely I will do whatever I can to get legislation through that will cut the funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Except for what we need for them to do on our borders. I hate those vans. I hate them following our citizens. I hate them hounding us. As far as education goes, with a huge background in education and having to take courses to learn more about Common Core and all this stuff. We put billions of dollars into No Child Left Behind, and we didn't close the gaps. I'd pay Mcafee. I got a background in education, but I'd pay Mcafee or somebody, because you know what? We don't have to put all this money. And what I'm trying to say is, if someone has a heart for our kids, they'll get a good curriculum out there, and it will be available. Not for a lot of money, but it'll be available for free. So I'd cut a lot of programs that we don't need. Arts, medical, different things that are getting a lot of money right now, I'd cut them.
Thank you very much. As we continue through this forum, you guys may have questions or want to ask follow-ups. I do encourage you guys to continue to write your questions down and send them forward, and I will try to get them integrated as quickly as possible. We have 3 questions that have been submitted, and it wouldn't be a Libertarian convention if we didn't have questions concerning drug policy. I want to read these as they're written, just so you guys can have a flavor for what we're talking about. Would you advocate legalization of LSD? If not, if so or if not, please explain. What drug, if any, would you keep as unavailable to the public because of the harm it can do to individuals using it? Last question. What, if any, barriers do you foresee in appointing an Attorney General who will remove marijuana from the drug schedule? So to summarize, we're looking for responses concerning your drug policy for the United States and how you would implement it with regards to things beyond marijuana. Marijuana has already sort of captured the American public, and they understand that a little bit better than they have in years past. But when we get beyond that, what are your thoughts on that? And we're going to start with Mr. Petersen.
Good, because I'm fired up on it.
You own your life, you own your body, you have the right to do with it as you please, provided you harm no one else. And that is the libertarian principle on drugs, all drugs. Now, let me talk to you about LSD versus heroin or anything like that. You know, if you believe that you own your body and you own your life, it applies equally. But would I keep any drugs unavailable? No. Would you tell a sick person to their face that they can't have a drug? No. That's paternalistic, and that's tyrannical, and that's authoritarian. We should legalize. No, actually, we shouldn't legalize, because then we have to have the government make us pay taxes for it. Let's just decriminalize it. Let's just end prohibition entirely. So my drug policy is this. I've been consulting with my team of lawyers and my economic think tank, and they say the best way for the president to end the war on drugs, he can do unilaterally. And all we have to do is take the drug schedules and set them all to 0. This would remove the DEA's ability to enforce it. This would kick the federal war on drugs back to the states. Now, we Federalists, we like this idea. We don't want a federal war on drugs. The only problem we have to deal with is that some states like Texas may execute you for looking at a joint. California might make it mandatory to wake and bake. So that might be a problem with federalism. But from a moral, ethical, legal, and from a moral, ethical, and legal perspective, the federal government should have no role in regulating drugs whatsoever. You own your life, you own your body, and the war on drugs now.
Amen.
Judge Gray?
I've been in the criminal justice system, civil justice system for a very long time. The justice system is really good at holding people accountable for what they do, but not at all good about what they put into their bodies, and that's the secret. Get the government out of the nanny state, out of trying to protect us from ourselves. It's wrong, it doesn't work. So, from my standpoint, as a libertarian, I doubt anyone would disagree. The government has as much right to control what I put into my body as it does what I put into my mind. It's none of their business. But you have problems with regard to quality control. I believe that truth in advertising should be utilized. I certainly want to have quality control. I want to have labeling. I want to have strengths, all of that. But those are prohibition problems. And then if you're going to decide to put something into your body, for example, cigarettes, I think that's a poor idea. And medically, I think that's substantiated. You know, the biggest success we have had in the mind-altering, sometimes conviction rate in the entire country in the last 100 years is with regard to cigarettes. Not because we've made them illegal, but because we've actually put real interesting factual information into the marketplace, and we have fewer people smoking cigarettes. Hooray for that! And it's going to be the same thing with these various other drugs. It is something the government should not be involved with. You know, when we finally repealed alcohol prohibition, we did not say that Georgia will now become wet, or Texas, or whatever. In fact, when I was in Peace Corps training, I was in San Marcos, Texas. It was still a dry county. I thought that was misguided, but that's their choice. Get the government out of it and allow each state to decide how best to serve and protect its people. We learn from each other. One state does something that's working pretty well, we can learn from it. Others do something that doesn't work quite so well, they can learn from it. Get the federal government completely out of these various other drugs, just like we did with alcohol, and good things will start happening.
Decriminalize all drugs. I, for one, have rheumatism, so I'm a major advocate for medical marijuana, also recreational. I believe most Americans are in pretty well control of themselves and what they like to do. I want to make one example, and I think all Americans would like to know this. The country of Portuguese, they legalized all drugs 15 years ago, and they still have it. You know, it's all legal. And what they have, though, they have all these drug rehabs, just like we do. So what's the difference? If they have all these drug rehabs for the ones that do get out of control and the ones that do get addicted, and some people's lives do get wrecked from it. I'm fortunate, it really does. And, I mean, the heroin and LSD, that's some pretty hard stuff. I've never done heroin myself. Back in my younger days, a little bit of something else there, but, and, you know, hey, people like to try, and I think it's the curiosity that our kids and everybody grow up with. Man, I want to get away with trying this. I want to try this. You know, I get away with it, man. That's, it's almost like a fantasy or something. But if you make it all illegal, now these kids are going, well, heck, it's legal. It's just too easy, okay? And it makes them think, and it helps parents too to teach them too that look, some of this can just be medicine. You want to grow up and be recreational, go ahead. But I try to teach my kids not to smoke cigarettes, okay? And be careful of the drugs you choose, because look, it can harm you, all right? It can hurt people. That's what most Americans are worried about. Kids getting a hold of this stuff. And, you need to have a lockbox at home. And, my parents made it very easy to get to alcohol and cigarettes, so, I was very, pretty easy to try all kinds of things that I wanted to try. But, as a role model now is for my daughters and my grandchildren, be careful. And that's what we all can do. Thank you.
Okay, so this is where that non-fee pastoral counselor thing comes in. And one of the biggest decisions that I had to really take time to think about before I joined the Libertarian Party, because as a counselor, and when I say non-fee, what that means is the government and the state can't tell me how to counsel. So they can't. I can talk to whoever I want, I can counsel however I want, and yes, I do have training. I was trained at the University of Arizona in Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, okay? And I do have a master's in educational psychology and a whole bunch of credits in rehabilitation counseling. So I go back to my education, and what they say is that when people come to you they're not just coming with addictions, or spouses that might have addictions too, because they even though they might not have an addiction to the drug, they form their own addictions trying to help them navigate the lifestyle. And they say it's not just the addiction, but it's the physical problems too. So personally, I don't like drugs. But see, like I said, it's not about me, it's about we. And will I go and tell people that I don't like them? No, I will go tell people that I believe in the U.S. Constitution. And according to the U.S. Constitution, this decision belongs to the states. The federal government has no right to make this decision. And if you as a community, not just a state, but we the people, if you as a community make a decision, that's your decision for your state. So the federal government has no right to regulate it, in my opinion.
Well, we're finally talking about something I have some experience in. LSD, and I'm all for quality LSD, so by the way, I think quality. Obviously, we cannot legislate what we do with our own bodies, because whatever we try to legislate never works. Prohibition should have taught us that. Criminalizing prostitution should have taught us that. There are just as many prostitutes in countries where it is illegal as where it is legal. However, we do have to understand one thing. We have the right to do anything we want with our bodies. However, we have to be restricted after we've done that. I do not want to have brain surgery by a neurosurgeon who's dropped 2 hits of acid. Neither do you. You don't want someone who cannot stand up from being drinking, driving a car. Now, it doesn't mean we make that illegal. Maybe we say, okay, if you're too drunk to walk, you have to put a pink flashing light on your car, and it's up to us to keep out of your way. I don't know. But we have to deal with the results somehow. Okay, so you cannot forget this, that people are always blindly going, yeah, legalize drug. We are, and I'm all for legalizing every single drug. Heroin, the addiction to heroin, I have experience with this, is its own punishment. I promise you, we do not need to punish people more. We do not need to do that. So, thank you.
It's going to be hard to follow that one. Jack as a candidate, just like the rest of these guys, would deregulate all drugs at a federal level. However, the 10th Amendment does give the states the right to regulate it if they want to. And at a federal level, we should deregulate all drugs, not some drugs, every single one. The individual needs to be in charge of their own lives. So if the federal government does anything, it doesn't need to force people by making things illegal and then punishing them and punishing the rest of us while having to pay for their incarceration. If the federal government should do anything, it's educate people. Educate people about the health risk, the cost of buying drugs continuously once you have a drug habit. Anything they can do to deter people, or at least inform them about the decisions they're making, not force them. Thank you.